Hey, what's up guys? So for today's video, just gonna do a quick little profile on my GK Demise or my Gravekeeper Demise. I recently got my hands on a playset of Demise, shout out to Dollar Tree. But yeah, anyways, so like this is just the deck I've been playing outside of like the meta, like essentially just what I play up against my friends and stuff, but I have played against just the obvious meta like decks such as like Cosmo and stuff, and it actually does win. You might not think this is the most like competitive deck, but in some ways it can combat the meta. But just letting you guys know, this is definitely not the most competitive build, and it definitely is far from perfect because this is just what I've been like running the last couple days ever since I got my demise. And essentially, I just built it for fun. Actually, like I've been getting tired of the meta and just been getting really like I don't know, really repetitive. So I've just been playing this, and it's been really fun. So yeah, just gonna starting out. So without further ado, I'll just start with the main deck. So I'll start the profile out with, oops, sorry about that. Two commandants. He is the searcher for your Necro Valleys, and with Necro Valley out on the field, it is a 2100 beater, and that's pretty good. But he's only at 2 because getting to Necro Valley isn't as big of a problem as it used to be because Demise is a card. So just drawing into your magic or your spell cards and your trap cards isn't exactly too big of a problem. So yeah, he's only at 2. And then you run 3 spies. She is probably the best monster you have in your deck because she gets you another card and or another monster, and it's just really versatile because there's just so many you can pick out of. You can either get your descendant, which pops stuff, your recruiter, which helps you search, or your nobleman to float. So it's just an instant +1 if. But in any case, also if you set her and your opponent doesn't really know what you're playing and you have a Necro Valley on the field, she has a 2500 booty, so she can act as a big wall, and that's pretty cool. And then, as I already mentioned, Descendant, he is your popper. You tribute one of your Gravekeeper monsters to pop something else. And also, he's a level 4, so you can do some rank 4 plays with Gravekeeper Spy and Descendant, which is pretty cool. And then Recruiter, he's what you usually pop with Descendant to search for things like your Commandant or whatever you really need. He searches out anything with a 1500 or less defense points, so it's pretty cool. And there's also a Nobleman. I don't really think too many people run this, but the fact that it helps you float with Spy is really cool because if you have a set Spy and then let's say you're facing against Cosmos and then they just run over her despite having just a humongous booty of 2500, you can get out a Nobleman, and then if Nobleman gets killed, she can bring out another Spy, and then you can just keep on repeating the cycle and hopefully living. And then here's my favorite Gravekeeper. He's not the best card, but the fact that he's just like immune to like everything when there's Necro Valley out on the field is just really good because you can bait out a lot of stuff. Like your opponent might not even read the card or not really care, and you can just attack, and then they'll Mirror Force you, not knowing it doesn't do shit against it. So it's really cool. And yeah, guys, this is pretty much just like my monster lineup. It's very small. It's only 12 cards or 12 monsters, and I really wouldn't run any more than that or any less, just because you don't want to draw into them with Demise. And then now for just the one of spell cards. So Raigeki for board clearance. That against Cosmos is just amazing because Necro Valley won't let them banish the big ships to float. And then there's Mass Change 2. Pretty much all your monsters are dark except for Commandants. So you can make Dark Law, and Dark Law by himself is a floodgate, a really good one at that too. So why not make them? With Demise and Pot of Duality being in a deck, running more than one really wouldn't be ideal just because you won't be able to special summon that turn. So keeping this card at 1 is definitely a good number. And then one Twin Twister. For like the longest time, I've wanted this to be an MST just because sometimes you just won't have that one card to discard because of Demise, but the fact that it can destroy up to 2 is just so much more better than an MST. So it's stayed at Twin Twister for now. And then Kaiser Coliseum is an amazing card in this deck because most of the time you'll just be summoning one at a time and that just gives you so much control, especially going turn 1 against your opponent. So I just love this card. And then this is the card. If you resolve this turn 1, you will win, because there's not a single deck out there that this doesn't hurt. So, you know, doing Royal Tribute turn 1 puts you so far ahead of your opponent. And then Steal. You do tend to sometimes discard some monsters because of Demise. And you do run a relatively small monster count, so just having access to the monsters in your grave is just really good. And it just helps you out with a better grind game. So, huge fan of Steel. But he does kind of suck towards early game, but it's still cool. And then obviously you run your 3 obvious Necro Valley. This is the MVP of the deck, because it just hurts so many decks out there like Cosmos and Monarchs and whatnot. And then onto like the draw power kind of cards. So this is the card everyone's been talking about recently. Demise. Super good. Helps you draw into your trap cards, your floodgates, and your spell cards, all that you need. And then the card that works really well with Demise actually is Allure of Darkness, because if you demise into a lot of monsters and you have access to an Allure, you can just use those monsters that you'll be discarding anyway for Allure and hopefully draw into some floodgates. So, huge fan of Allure. And then I run just 2 pot of dualities. You don't run 3 just because you don't want a duality into another duality, and having multiples in hand isn't exactly great because it's once per turn. I mean, you can... Card Demise is also once per turn, but the fact that it's so much more better than duality is why it's at 3. But anyways, duality just helps you get into Card Demise and Allure. And then now for the trap cards. I run only 10 traps. There's some variants out there that run a whole lot more than that, but I just feel like this is a good number. I run 1 warning because it just says no to your opponent. It's great. And then Bottomless Trap Hole is very disruptive against your opponent. And Rivalry. All your monsters are spellcasters, so yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. And you don't run more than one of it, because having multiples isn't exactly going to help you out. Just having like a diverse amount of traps and floodgates is actually just better. And then there's Vanity's Emptiness, probably the best floodgate. And then there's Dark Bribe. I run Dark Bribe because you just need protection from things like Full House and Twin Twisters, just to protect all your set cards and everything, because they essentially are your win condition, because without them you're really not going to be winning any games. So yeah, that's why you run Dark Bribe. And then 3 Mirror Force and a Storming for your defensive traps. Like, you don't run the one that shuffles them into the deck if they attack you directly, because most of the time you do tend to keep a board presence with GKs, especially since most of the time they just I face people that just can't get over Spy's booty, you know, that 2500 too strong. But now for extra deck, Dark Blob, because you can make them, and then you run the Utopia package because you actually go into them a lot, just against Cosmos and stuff, and just pushing for game and getting over really big things. And then just generic outs to stuff, 101 in Castell, Dweller against BA and stuff, Cowboy for game, Samurai because he can do 3800 all by himself, Direwolf as another generic out. And then for Maestroke, if I had a Giant Hand, I'd run Giant Hand over him, but yeah, he's just there. And then Key Beetle to protect floodgates, Heartland Draco for game, Rebellion just for going over stuff, and then Trapeze Magician to put in more damage. But anyways, guys, this is my deck. Like I said, it's nowhere near perfect, but I am making little tweaks to it as I go along, and it's just been really fun. So hopefully you guys will check out your own variant of Demise. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are not a fan of this card, or like Demise, but it's actually given a lot of the older decks a big edge, so that's what I really like about it. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching, and bye.